Hey guys, so today I was babysitting and I was reading a whole bunch of stories and it was really funny because it was at 8:30 and I was like, oh, this reminds me of story time with Rebecca. And then I remembered that I needed to start recording some videos to send you. So I have my book and I'm sitting in my room. This is all necessary information. Alright, and I'm just going to flip to a random story. Let's see. I don't remember if we've read this one. That could be really awkward. I'm just going to go to a different one. Okay, cool. This one is called The Shroud. And it looks like a short one, and so is the next one. So I'll read both of them. And guys, guess what? The third one, not one of the ones I'm going to read, but the third one is The Rose, the one with the creepy child who kills the other child, we're pretty sure. Okay, so The Shroud. There was once a mother who had a little boy 7 years old, who was so handsome and lovable that no one could look at him without liking him, and she herself worshipped him above everything in the world. Now it so happened that he suddenly became ill, and God took him to himself, and for this the mother could not be comforted, and wept both day and night. But soon afterwards, when the child had been buried, it appeared by night in the places where it had sat and played during its life. And if the mother wept, it wept also. And when the morning came, it disappeared. As, however, the mother would not stop crying, it came one night in the little white shroud in which it had been laid in its coffin, and with its wreath of flowers round its head, and stood on the bed at her feet, and said, "O mother, do stop crying, or I shall never fall asleep in my coffin, for my shroud will not dry because of all thy tears which fall upon it." The mother was afraid when she heard that, and wept no more. The next night the child came again, and held a little light in his hand, and said, "Look, mother, my shroud is nearly dry, and I can rest in my grave." Then the mother gave her sorrow into God's keeping, and bore it quietly and patiently, and the child came no more, but slept in its little bed beneath the earth. Feel free to discuss. You can pause the video if you need to. Okay, maybe this next one will be different. Okay, The Willful Child. Once upon a time, there was a child who was willful and would not do what her mother wished. For this reason, God had no pleasure in her and let her become ill. One sec. It's from the mother of the kids I was babysitting tonight. They're adorable and they love stories, which brings me back to this story. Okay, real time, people. This is happening. Okay, it's been one of those days. I was stuck in a 2-hour traffic jam. It was ridiculous. A 40-minute journey, quest, voyage on land ended up being over 2 hours. It was ridiculous. So, I'm just going to start this one over. The Willful Child. Once upon a time, there was a child who was willful and would not do what her mother wished. For this reason, God had no pleasure in her and let her become ill, and no doctor could do her any good, and in a short time she lay on her deathbed. When she had been lowered into her grave and the earth was spread over her, all at once her arm came out again and stretched upwards, and when they had put it in and spread fresh earth over it, it was all to no purpose, for the arm always came out again. Then the mother herself was obliged to go to the grave and strike the arm with a rod, and when she had done that, it was drawn in, and then at last the child had rest beneath the ground. Oh my gosh, this is weird. Both of those had some weird things about them. Let me see if I can find another short one, and maybe we can end on like a less death-filled note. That would be cool. Let's see. This is so much easier when you guys yell out numbers for me. I'll start taking requests one day. That could be fun. Short one. Short. Oh. that one's not quite short enough. I'm wasting so much time flipping for one. If all else fails, I'll just read the pennies. Or no, that's not the one. Anyways, I found one. The Water Sprite. This will be the last one for tonight. Oh, all right. A little brother and sister were one day playing together by the side of a well, and not being careful, they both fell in. Under the water they found a fairy, who said to them, "Now I have caught you. I intend for you to work for me." So she carried them both away. When they arrived at her home, she set the maiden to spin hard, tangled flax, and gave her a cask full of holes to fill with water. And she sent the boy to the wood with a blunt axe, and told him to cut wood for the fire. The children became at last so impatient with this treatment that they waited till one Sunday, when the fairy was at church, and ran away. But the church was close by, and as they were flying away like two birds, she espied them, and went after them with great strides. The children saw her coming in the distance, and the maiden threw behind her a great bush, which instantly became a mountain covered with prickly points, over which the fairy had the greatest trouble to climb. But the children saw that she had managed to get over, and was coming near. The boy then threw a comb behind them, which became a mountain of combs, with hundreds of teeth sticking up, but the fairy knew how to hold fast on to this, and soon clambered over it. The maiden next threw a looking-glass behind, which became a mountain also, and was so slippery that it was impossible to get over it. Then thought the fairy, "I will go home and fetch my axe, and break the looking-glass." But when she came back and had broken the looking-glass, the children had been for a long time too far away for her to overtake them, so she was obliged to sink back into the well. That had a much happier end. Well, that's it for tonight. So that was Storytime with Rebecca, and I love you guys, and good night.